James chapter 2, and we'll start with verse 1. Before I start, I try, and I'm not very good at it, but I try to say hello to everyone as they arrive. And in the process, I've had a few conversations this morning. And within conversations and things that I've overheard, the word faith has come up. And imagine that at church. But I wanted to say, well, that goes along with the message this morning, but I guess you'll figure that out. James chapter 2, verse 1. My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons. I know the wording in this is a little bit different, but what it's saying is you do not have the faith of Jesus Christ. How would James know this? Once again, James is the brother of Jesus. He too didn't, my understanding and what I've read in the Word, he didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God because he was his brother. But with the evidence of Jesus being nailed to a cross and the things that he witnessed in all of that process and the tomb being empty, I believe that he also seen Jesus after he rose. So he became a believer. And so this is James saying this, and he's saying, you do not have the faith of Jesus Christ. How could he tell? We realize what people's faith are by the way that they act, by the things that they do, the words that come out of their mouth. They can say they're a Christian, but let's be perfectly honest, those words are very empty and they don't mean a thing if their actions and the rest of the way that they live their life backs that up. And we're in a world that is full of people that are pretend Christians. And that's one of the things that has burdened me since I became a minister, is to try to fix that. So he's telling them, you do not have the faith of Jesus Christ with respect of persons. Jesus got criticized because he dined with sinners. Jesus is the guy that went out of his way to go to a place to meet a woman that was as sinful as they came. He had an appointment to be at that well so that he could meet her and talk to her. Jesus spent all of his time in the world standards by hanging out with losers. That's what we would call them. How should we be any different? Our faith, this all boils down to faith. I've commented and said this several times. For you to be able to understand something is one level of understanding. For you being able to understand something well enough to explain it to someone else is another level of understanding, because you have to be able to break it down and explain it in a manner that someone else can understand. Jesus went out of his way to be in the right place at the right time to explain salvation to people. And not only explain it, but show them what it means to be a believer, to have faith. Our faith comes from being able to take whatever situation that we're confronted with and being able to let Jesus shine through it. It doesn't matter who we're talking to. It doesn't matter how we're talking to them. It doesn't matter what color our skin is or their skin is. It doesn't matter what the walls are that divide us from other people. We should always let the light of Jesus Christ shine through us, and whatever we're feeling, let it shine through to those people, because Jesus came and he died so that the world might be saved. Okay? That's what faith is. Faith is what gets us to that point where we can be consistent and love everybody the way that Jesus loved them and loves them today. That's what faith is. Let's move on. Verse 2. For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring in goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, being a neighborhood church, we have seen all kinds of people come in this door. I have stood here and seen people standing in the foyer looking through the glass at me because they were afraid to come in. Do we judge? Do we judge people by what we see? Do we judge people by what we hear? Do we judge people by what we smell? You can use all your senses. Do we treat them differently because of the way that we have judged them? Do we think that this one would be more of an asset to this congregation because they could help us because of their appearance? We don't know these people. Where someone that comes in that looks like they've wore the clothes they have on for months, well, do we treat them the same way? Chances are we don't. But who's to say that the one that comes in poor wouldn't be a greater asset to the church than that one that comes in dressed to the nines? We're guilty. Verse 3, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Jesus came, well, I'm jumping ahead, let's go on. Are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom, which he hath promised to them that love him? I can find no greater example of what we're talking about here than just following Jesus' time on this earth. When Jesus was looking for men to help him in his ministry, to learn the ministry with him or through him by walking with him, and then continuing that ministry once his time on this earth was done, he did not go to the wealthy. He went to the people who knew how to live day by day, to trust in their skills, and to do what they needed to survive. Those are the ones that Jesus sought out to be his disciples. And I've mentioned it before, but I classify myself as an amateur psychiatrist. And Casey and Rhonda was very quick to point out to me that that's admitting that I judge people. No, I just try to figure out what makes them tick. So I have to immediately say, what do these people that struggle to make a living, these people that struggle day to day, what do they have that the rich do not have? Why would they be more acceptable as a disciple of Jesus Christ? I should have phrased that differently, because the answer is exactly the opposite of that. What do the wealthy and the people that are well-to-do have that keeps them from being who the poor and the people that live day to day are? Because that's a better explanation of what the problem is. You see, the people that live day to day, that struggle, they have to account for every penny that is spent. Those people already have humility, not humidity, even though there's some outside. Those people already humility. So they have the first step already on their side. Because we can't come to Jesus proudly. We can't come to Jesus and tell Him how things are going to be. We have to get past that. We have to get past ourselves. And then humbly bow before Him and say, "Yes, Lord." Now, this isn't always the case. Okay? There are exceptions. That it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you have. When you come to Jesus, you better come humbly. Because that is the only way that He will accept you. Verse 6, "But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat?" It has always been a problem. Those people that have money have a greater influence over the people that are in authority over us. Is that not true? They have a greater voice in their ear because of all kinds of reasons. So whatever their agenda is the agenda of the people that have authority over us. Because that seems like the way to go. Why would I listen to these people that can't help me out any? I'm going to help this one that can help me. That's the way the world looks at things. It's going on today. We can't stick our head in the sand and ignore it. It's going on today. So what kind of voice do we have? We have the strongest voice that has ever been in this world. And that is the voice of Jesus Christ. It doesn't take wealth. It doesn't take anything that this world can possibly provide. It takes faith. You see, all this boils down to faith. It boils down to our individual faith. What do we trust in? What do we believe in? Do we trust in worldly things or do we trust in heavenly things? You see, the worldly things, they may be great today. They may sparkle and they may shine and be just all of the big whatever, the big ever to do. Everybody's got to have it. Everybody needs it. Isn't that what they say in the commercials? But it only lasts a lifetime. Faith in Jesus lasts forever.
Amen.
Another part of that, we will always have somebody causing us problems. Since sin first happened in the Garden of Eden. You see, God created a perfect world and man ruined it. And there will never be another perfect world on this earth until Jesus sets it back up again. So we're going to have to deal with sin. We're going to have to deal with corruption. We're going to have to deal with aggression, oppression. We got to deal with it. What does that mean? Where am I going with this? I'm glad you asked, because I need to get there. Jesus Christ came to save the world, and the world crucified Him. if we take the likeness of Jesus Christ, if we are the light for this world, if we have faith in Jesus to the point that in everything that we do, and everything that we say, and everything, we try to be the most like Jesus that we possibly can. We let Him guide our thoughts. We let Him guide our words. We let Him guide our path. That means that it's going to make the world mad. We still live in the same world that crucified Him. How do you think they'll respond to someone that's taking on His likeness? See, this is where faith comes in again. If we take the likeness of Christ, the world is going to condemn us. The world is going to persecute us. The world is going to cause us problems. Because the world is sinful and it's controlled by the sinful leader, Satan. So we can step out in faith and say, I know the world may not like this, but I'm going to stand with Jesus and for Jesus. And in faith, we know that we are on the winning side. In faith, we know we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for Him. And by doing it for Him, we are humbly bowing down before Him and saying, Jesus, this life, this breath that you have given me, I will serve you with every breath more that you give me. Amen. And by faith, we know it doesn't matter what happens to us. He's with us and we're with Him. Period. There's no fine print. There's no other details that are needed. He took our sin to His cross. The least that we can do is take His task, His work, His deeds with us down the path that He has given us. It's the least that we can do. Verse 7. Do not they blaspheme that worthy name by the which ye were called? The world will deny Christ. They did deny Christ. All right, let me read that again. Do not they. We are not to deny Christ. We are not to deny who He is. We are not to deny what He has done. This is blasphemy. To deny that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and that He died on the cross, that He is the Messiah. To know that, we're here today. We know that, right? Mm-hmm. We cannot deny it. How do we deny it? It don't have to come out your mouth. It can be. You can deny Him with your actions. By the way that we act, do we act like Jesus is our Savior? Or do we fear what the world can do? Do we fear what the world thinks? Heaven forbid. If we say we're a Christian on Sunday, then we need to act like a Christian Monday through Saturday.
Amen. That's right.
And if we do not, then we are denying that we're denying Christ in our life.
Right.
Verse 8. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the Scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. If we treat each other the way that we want to be treated, if we treat each other with love, the kind of love that we want to receive from our fellow man, then it says you do well. It's basically saying that's what you're supposed to do. That's what the commandment is. That's what you are supposed to do. If we do not do that, then we're at fault. But if ye have respect to persons to commit sin, and are convinced of the law as transgressors, for whosoever shall keep the law, whole law, and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. For he that said, do not commit adultery, and also do not kill, now if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. We don't preach on the Ten Commandments enough, and I know that it's an ancient document. It's the laws that God gave Moses to give to the Israelites so that they would know how they're supposed to act and know what they were supposed to do. You got to keep in mind, these people were slaves. They were used to being told what to do. Now they're free. In our terms, they could do whatever they wanted to do. Well, Jesus gave Moses these laws so that they would know what moral standards they were to have. Okay? And I know that it's under the old covenant. I know that. But those laws, those commandments that were given to Moses and passed down through this book, they are the basis of morals for us. And the things that they say are the specific things that we are not to do and to do. Okay? They are thought of so highly in a sinful world that the laws of the country are based upon those commandments. With that being said, we have diluted them. We have forgotten about them. It's an old document. It don't apply today. Things are different. That's not true. The things that pleased God then and the things that God hated then are still the same today. God has not compromised His stance on these things. It's us who have compromised it because we want to do it. God's a God of love. He'll love us anyway. He will love you, but He'll hate your habits because He won't agree with them. It is still true, and it is still words to live by. Verse 12. So speak ye, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. If we want to please God, and if we call ourselves a Christian, we're saying we want to please God. Right? If we want to please God, then we will do the things that we know pleases Him. And we won't do the things that we know don't please Him. Doesn't that sound simple? Then how has it got so confusing? It's because we've stuck our nose into it and given our 2 cents worth. It's simple. Do the things that make God happy and don't do the things that don't make Him happy. Verse 13. And, well, let me back up a little bit. We will all one day stand before the righteous judge. He don't care who you are. He don't care. He just don't care. He don't care how much money you gave to charity. He don't care about any of that. The only thing that He cares about is if you know Him and He knows you and what you have done serving Him. If you come before Him with a heart of righteousness, that's the only thing that will matter. Verse 13, for He shall have judgment without mercy that have showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. This isn't the only place that this is mentioned. There are other places, and I didn't have time to look them up, but there are other places that says we are to show each other the mercy that we have been shown. God showed mercy on a sinful man and sent his son to die for me. The mercy that he showed forgave my sins. But that's not where it's supposed to stop. I now am supposed to show that kind of mercy to my fellow man. What does that mean? That means don't hate the person. You can hate what they're doing, but you got to love the person. You have got to want them to find the same peace and the same joy that you have found. And that doesn't mean the only way to deal with them is to stay away from them. Sometimes it does. But we should be on our knees praying that God will love them until we can. Sometimes we have to pray for those people. This is Scripture. We're to pray for those people that despitefully use us. The people that get under our skin, the people that do things that annoy us, the people who when they walk into the room it just makes your skin crawl. Get over it. Love them like Jesus did. Amen. It's not about you, it's about Him. Amen. That's the kind of mercy that we are to show. And the verse that I just read says we will be judged upon that mercy. Not the mercy that God showed us, but the mercy we have shown on others. Right. We've got big boots to fill, people. Amen. We got a ways to go. Verse 14, what doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him? What kind of works? It doesn't matter. There's different kinds of works. Okay? I had an uncle that was the most generous man I've ever met in my life. And very few people realize that. He didn't do things for people to know that he was doing them. He didn't do things for anybody's praise. He did things because God wanted him to. You see, those are the kind of work that matter. The works that lead people to Jesus are the ones that count in this life. The works that help people in their walk with Jesus. We're not talking about the kind of works that get your names on a building. Remember, Jesus was humble. His followers were humble. We're to help people humbly. We're to help people just because we can. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? If you see somebody that is hungry, if you see somebody that is in any kind of need, and you have within your ability, within what you have to help that need, you don't leave them and say, God will send somebody to help you. You don't pray for them and believe in faith. There is a time to stop praying and to start doing. If God has placed somebody in your path that has a need that you can take care of, take care of it. Don't direct them somewhere else. God has given them to you. These are the kind of works that Jesus smiles about. And that's a good thing. I heard a preacher say one time, I don't know where I heard it, to be honest with you, but this person saw somebody in need, and they said, God, please send someone their way that can help them and take care of them. And God says, I just did. We're too quick to pass the buck. If God has blessed you, then you need to be blessing others. Verse 17. Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. Faith without works is dead. Do we trust Jesus enough to take a step of faith, to get out of our comfort zone? You may say, I can't. I'm not a social person. I can't talk to people. I can't do this. I can't just walk up to a stranger and say, I feel like God has sent me to you to help you. I can't do it. You're absolutely right. You can't. But God can through you. We have to get over ourselves and what our problems are, what are the things that makes us feel uncomfortable. Believe me, standing behind a pulpit was not something that I ever wanted to do. I have a whole family full of preachers. But when you say, God, use me for whatever it is that you want to use me, He does. And if you ever say those words, you can't back out. Because God always keeps His promises, and it's up to us to keep ours with Him. And He rewards us. I will tell you now, I've been doing this for over, close to 12 years now. And not for one day have I regretted answering this call. Let me just make that very clear. God has blessed me immensely, beyond what I could ever imagine, just by being obedient to His will. And let me tell you something, it's not just me. If you're obedient to His will. Now, I'm not saying that all of you should be preachers. That is not what I'm saying. But God has a plan for each and every one of you, and it's up to you to find out what that plan is and to do it. And then along the way, He will help you be a witness to others. He will help you to have strength enough to let the light of Jesus shine through so that the world can see. That's what this world that we live in now needs. Amen. There is enough darkness of sin. It needs the light of Jesus shining everywhere. So there's a place for you to let your works shine. Let me rephrase that. There's a place for you to let the light of Jesus shine through you. And that is the works that God is looking for from you. In closing, verse 18. Yea, a man may say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Our true faith in Jesus is revealed in the way that we act, the way that we speak, the way that we deal with others, our compassion. Those are the things that reveal our faith in Jesus. Our peace. I have found that one of the greatest magnets to pull someone that doesn't know Jesus in is, how can you stay calm in a situation like this? And we simply have to say, I have Jesus in my heart. Because Jesus is the source of perfect peace. Perfect peace. That only comes from Jesus. We are to let the world see Jesus through us. And in that, the world sees our faith. And that's what this world needs. It's what we need.